and welcome to True Nature's video podcast. My name is Nish Masters, and over this series of interviews, I'm going to be chatting to adopters who will be sharing their stories with you and to industry professionals on all things relative to living with Romanian and foreign rescue dogs. The True Nature podcast is sponsored and hosted by The Dog's Point of View, where you can find resources and online courses all created specifically for adopters of foreign rescue dogs and for trainers and canine professionals working with foreign rescue dogs. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy the show. Oh, I think you might have to press something.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. Okay, so welcome to Debbie and Alex to True Nature Living with Street Dogs. Going to share their story of the very, very gorgeous Cosette with us. Thank you for joining me, guys, and coming along to have a chat about little Cosette.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
It's really
gorgeous there.
She does look, and you know what? I often look at, these pictures when I see these pictures, and I just think, oh, just imagine the life they could have had, and then look at them now. And I always just get that all warm, fuzzy feeling.
Yeah, super relaxed. There.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
all cozy and spoilt.
Yes, and we know it was never always that way.
No. Took a while for her to relax, absolutely.
Yeah, of course. So tell us first off, guys, how long Cosette's been with you now?
So we're in May now, so she's been with us for 2 years in March.
2 years. Cool.
Yeah. March 2019, yeah.
And let's just share the pictures that got you.
Yes. There is a funny story to this. So this picture popped up from the rescue, and we've already got one Jack Russell, Heidi, who was probably about 7 at the time. And I was just scrolling through the pictures, not really thinking anything of it, and then this little face pops up, and Alex was in the pub at the time.
It's probably the first time I've been to the pub for a while with a friend I've not seen for a while.
And I said, oh, can we? Can we? And it all just happened.
So, no, Misha, pint 1, it was no. Pint 3, it was maybe. And by pint 5, it was, oh, you can do what you want.
And I said, oh, you should be grateful it's not adopting a child, it's a little doggy. And yeah, so she won us over with those pictures, and it all happened very quickly. So from that night, I think she was with us within 3 or 4 days.
Really?
Well, no, we went to see her with her adopters first.
That's right, yeah. We went to have a little look at her with the adopter, and the rescue came and did, a house check. Yeah. And so, but it did happen quite quickly, and she came within a week probably.
Wow, that is quick.
Came within a week and then went in a day.
So it wasn't obvious. We'll get to that bit. It obviously wasn't a conscious I want to adopt a foreign rescue dog or a Romanian dog. It was just something that happened.
We'd been thinking, because Alex was coming up to retire or semi-retiring, we had been thinking of getting a second dog, without you having a little bit more time and us already having Heidi. But it wasn't a conscious decision about a rescue, and certainly not a foreign rescue. It was probably quite spontaneous.
It was quite spontaneous, and as a result, we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into, really, with Cosette being a Romanian rescue dog.
Yeah. How did you find the adoption process? Obviously, like you've already said, it was pretty quick, but it was fairly kind of smooth sailing. Obviously, they, like you say, they just kind of did your home check and off you went, basically.
They did a home check, a little bit of information about her and her background. So we knew there was a Facebook page and social media about where she came from. So we think she was about 6. And she'd been in a private shelter for quite some time, at least 2 or 3 years, I think, with a number of other dogs. So we knew a little bit about where she'd come from, and still do, actually. We're still kind of connected with the rescue over there. And so sort of basic information about security and a home check, really, wasn't it?
Yes, I think it's more about us and our environment than Cosette herself.
Yeah.
A few questions about Heidi and compatibility. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Cool. So Did you experience any problems when she arrived?
Yeah, sadly, she did escape despite the checking of the fence and the perimeter. Partly our fault. The door wasn't latched, and so she'd gone out for a wee, and I think we were under the false sense of security that she couldn't leave the garden. It had been checked, and we checked it as well, and we had put some fencing up. But pretty quickly we think she'd managed to jump.
We think she was more athletic than she looked.
Yeah, there was one broken
thing.
fence, and it was really very narrow, and we think, don't think she dug, we think she was in flight. Yeah. And she just found it very quickly.
Can't possibly been over the fence and gone.
Yeah.
So we spent that first night in panic mode, searching the whole area.
Can't even begin to imagine.
Rescue were fabulous.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, they set up straight away a team.
Yeah.
And they've obviously done this before.
Yeah.
Tracking, marking,
flyers everywhere.
Flyers everywhere. Helped us, told us what to do.
They were super, and fortunately it worked, and we got her back day 5.
Day 5, yeah.
But she was gone for 5 days. That's just like, I just can't even imagine.
But you know what?
Myself.
She stayed local.
Yeah, it's
she
quite
amazing.
Yeah, it is. They do often like stay in the area, but it can be tricky if, you know, within the area there are obviously dangers for them.
Yeah.
In terms of obviously getting hit by cars and things like that.
That was our main worry. So we had lots of sightings through our neighbours, people, you know, ringing the telephone number that was on the pictures.
Yeah.
And we were really instructed to encourage people not to go for her, because
definitely
she'll run and she'll then potentially move out of that area. And in the end, she was spotted under a caravan in a local caravan park, and the rescue used her adoptive partner, if you like,
a dog that she was that came over at the same time.
So they went to pick her up from the Wirral,
and she came to little was it Nilo?
Nilo, yeah.
Anyway, so the rescue were amazing, and thank heavens, you know, we got her back. We were distraught by the whole thing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then after, you know, she was, with hindsight, pretty shut down. Pretty shut down for a good number of weeks. We joked actually, she didn't bark for at least a couple of months. That was her, yeah. She had a little harness on. She what we now know is, you know, she is a quiet dog, isn't she? She's not, you know, she doesn't sort of play or chase or anything. So she is a quiet dog, but looking back, she was very shut down.
Yeah.
No barking, just.
I mean, no information. I mean, so it just doesn't have any information, the kind of information we've subsequently had from yourself.
Yeah.
And that information pack. So we tried to fit her into our schedule. So even our dog walker, we introduced her to the dog walker. And I think the dog walker picked up very quickly that she had to be different with Cosette. So she'd come at the end of a walk and take Cosette and Heidi out rather than have her with the rest of the dogs. And we started picking up anxieties with the dog walker. And she felt that there was a lack of trust with Cosette. She couldn't trust her.
Yeah.
And it culminated in a situation where, when she was bringing her back into our house as a sort of little kind of a small area inside the door, which we take our welly boots off and, you know, wipe the dogs down when they're wet and all that sort of stuff. And I think she got cornered in there, and she let out a bit of a warning to the dog walker that she didn't feel right. She felt overpowered, and as a result, we lost the dog walker. Yeah. In hindsight, it's probably the best thing that happened. So we had to do something different.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, that's when we started looking.
So she came in March. That was at Christmas, and I think, you're right, the timeline. So she was okay for a couple of months, but I think we just tried to fit her into the house as usual. Did everything wrong, Mish. We didn't have a separate room for her. We didn't have a safe space.
We tried to fit them together
for her. Heidi was helpful in some respects, because she would jump in the car and we could take them for a walk.
Yeah.
And Heidi did show her a routine, for sure. Yeah. But I think, with hindsight, we did everything wrong through ignorance. We just didn't know really. And And what happened over the summer was a gradual reactivity started to show. So at first, Jerry, our friend, came, and I think he actually had a little nibble of his ankle, which we sort of laughed off as a, a play,
Yeah.
He's got an eccentric character. He's like, why have you got that stupid dog? Is it attacking people?
Yeah, and I think it was a little nibble, and then it progressed, and actually the I remember distinctly the postman coming.
Well, we had to put barriers for the postman, so we then created the environment to keep.
She went for the postman.
Cosette away from visitors, basically. So
there was a growing awareness that actually she was struggling with visitors, and she did actually bite our neighbour.
She did,
yeah. So around about Christmas, so I think it unfolded really. We were really struggling. I felt massively out of control with it, not doing lots of reading, but finding lots of contradictory advice about how to manage this, because there's loads out there. Of course, busybodies, neighbours, friends are all telling you how to do it as well. We did get a bit of advice from the rescue, and they were sort of helpful in saying, make sure, at that point I think she had a safe space, kind of closed down her environment a little bit, but not too much. But then it was actually through the rescue that we got your contact details. So I think somebody else that had adopted a Romanian had been in touch with you at that point, and that's how. So we were connected with you through the rescue.
Yeah.
So that was probably that's when we lost the dog walker at Christmas, and I think we met around January, February.
It was, yeah. It was around.
Yeah.
All of that time. So basically, for 10 months, we were doing what we thought was right, but was probably wrong. It was wrong. We were taking lots of information on from lots of different people, which is often the worst thing to do. So poor Cosette had no rules or no consistency in approach, really.
And we were struggling. I was certainly struggling to bond with her.
Yeah.
As well. So that was doubly difficult. And in the back of your mind, you kind of have that, can we cope with her? The awful, will she have to go back?
I was going to say to you, I mean, this is something that I hear a lot when I'm speaking to people and when people contact me for help. And I was going to say to you, have there been times, over the last 2 years where you have felt like, what have we done? Can we cope with this little dog?
Definitely,
we can relate to that. Between ourselves. I mean, even the stressful conversations every day when we're walking her. Our expectations completely sort of shattered in a way, that we wanted the dog to be the same as Heidi, running loose, being friendly, being free all the time. Heidi's off the lead, Cosette's on the lead, always worrying what's going to happen.
And the back of my mind, worrying about her escaping.
Yeah, well, that's a big thing, is if she escapes and bit somebody. We were fortunate she bit people that were friends.
Yeah.
And actually understood what we were going through, and we were actually trying to help us with her.
Yeah.
Because if it had been somebody else, I mean, the story would have been completely different.
Yeah. Do you remember, Alex, me and you were actually falling out a little bit, which is unusual, about how to progress and manage the situation? So we were being really, and I think that's when we first came to you, Mish, of we need somebody to help us stay on the same page, because at the moment we've got different ways. I probably wanted to avoid any visitor interaction and just completely close down, and Alex was possibly, which we just need to get on with it, maybe the flooding style of
that's a common train of thought with it. It's just let's just keep pushing and
I guess the good thing is, though, Mish, is that initial information that we got almost a year later,
the video, the hour-long video.
Well, there's two things. One, there was the written word, the 11-page things to consider before you get a Romanian rescue, like 10 months later, and the initial video was like, it was just like a godsend. Really,
it was like a light bulb moment. Why are they different? Because we just didn't realise that they were different. I was going to say,
you've obviously had dogs before. We can see little Heidi there, bless her little heart.
Down here somewhere,
Yeah, how would you say Cosette has compared to other dogs you've had, but obviously, as you're saying, there was that realization that it was so different. And I think that whole struggling to connect and bond again is something that comes up quite a lot, because a lot of these dogs, they are quite independent and they take a long time to develop trust in a relationship, you know, with the new people as such. And it's something that it's the foundation of all your training and all your interactions. If you don't have that trust in place, then this, you know, these dogs are going to act independently, which then, you know, again, it creates discord in the relationship, but it also creates problems because they're going to respond to events and experiences instinctively rather than in any way that you try and guide or instruct them, which can make life really difficult for
I mean, I think the key difference between our two now is with Cosette, we think the processes in her doggy processes are, is it safe?
Absolutely, yeah.
Whereas Heidi, it's degrees of pleasure.
Yeah.
Is the reward going to be, you know, how good is the reward going to be? Clearly a different makeup of a domestic dog and a Romy street dog, definitely.
Yeah. And do you remember, Alex, that first year, the barking?
Oh God, yeah.
Was incessant.
Again, yeah, something.
And we were trying, I know this is common, trying to manage what will the neighbours think?
Yeah.
You know, trying to work out what it was that she was unhappy with, or what, you know, we used to joke, didn't we? Oh, a fly has farted and she's heard it in the garden. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And you know, that's it. We've made as she's become calmer.
Yeah.
When she's barking now, it's because there is a reason, usually.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I don't think she's spooked as easily, and some things that we would expect her to be spooked by, she doesn't get spooked. So I was saying yesterday, we were walking along the canal yesterday, and the bird scarers were going off. The big loud bangs at the bird scarers. She didn't even bat an eyelid at all. So I think some of the things she reacts to now is become a bit of a habit. So the postman, it's habit now.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's been reinforced because they obviously go and you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Tractors going past and other dogs. She's very aware of other dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Alex doing his. So with that is, Mish, we must have done a session with you and had some homework. That's the homework in the background.
I think that's the tea touch. That's the massage.
Yeah.
I'm massaging her there because early on you talked about, you know, obviously consent.
Yeah.
If you want to be touched. And then if she does try some of these techniques. So I think I was doing the tea massage where you just
the tea touch.
Yeah, tea touch.
That was definitely a really helpful, Mish, when you taught us, and we've kind of used it with Heidi as well, and I think with all dogs now and all animals. Is this animal consenting?
Yeah, absolutely.
To the interaction, and that really helped us connect with.
We do it all the time now.
Absolutely. In the early days.
We either do it to ourselves if Cosette's looking cute and you want to give her a stroke, and she's lying on the chair from the first picture, I might go over and Deb will say, "Is she consenting?" Okay.
Well, I say it now. I'm not consenting. But that was super helpful. And actually, there's lots of times when Heidi's not consenting, and I don't think we realised.
No, and it is incredibly valuable with the Romanian dogs and the foreign dogs, especially because they're so specific in their communication. And if we are not aware of when they're saying, well, actually, I don't really want you to do that, again, it's something that really inhibits that bonding process. And it is a break of trust. You imagine you don't want someone to touch you, and yet they keep touching you. You're never going to trust that person is actually listening to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. Like you say, safety underlines everything with these dogs. And if you're continually breaking trust and doing things that your dog is actually saying, well, I don't really want you to be doing that. It makes it hard to develop the trust that you need to be able to work with them in more challenging situations, because they just don't trust that you're actually A, listening to them, and B, going to respond in an appropriate way. So I think that's really valuable what you're saying, and how you noticed the change, the shift once you started doing that kind of stuff. And with Heidi as well, it's definitely something that can be a game changer for a lot of dogs. I mean, my border collie, she doesn't have any issues at all. I mean, she's probably as close to a perfect dog that I've ever had. but she doesn't like to be touched particularly. She's not, I don't sit and do tea touch and massage with her like I do with Tramp, the Romanian boy, because she's not what she wants.
Yeah.
It's not who she is. So
and the other side of that as well is the reading the stressors. So when you're out, so to the session you did on stress stacking,
yeah, stacking, understanding how things,
and the fact that it can be positive and it can also be negative, and the two, it's another stress stacker. That helps so much when you're just out walking. So we're now reading the environment completely differently than when we used to do. If I used to have a joke with Heidi, because Heidi sometimes, when Heidi was a puppy and we used to live in Liverpool, she bolted a few times and ran home. And it used to be little children. So when 2 or 3 kids would be running around, wanting this little cute dog to play with them, she'd just run. And occasionally she still does on a canal. She'll see something in front of her. So this is Heidi, not
no.
She will stop, tail down, ears down, and look to turn around and go back the way she's come. So this work with Cosette's also helping us with Heidi, trying to predict what she, from her point of view, just doesn't like.
And it is that all-encompassing, increased understanding and awareness of stuff. So you become more aware of the stuff itself, and B, the impact it has on the dogs, and then that understanding of where the behaviors come from in respect of that impact, which at the end of the day it does help you to be able to support both the dogs. It's not,
I think it really helped to sort of scale back. So if, for example, if the cleaner's been or something's happened, we'll just scale back and she'll go for a very short walk. It's kind of it's counter to everything we thought previously. She would take her for a long walk, she'll tire out. Well,
no.
So we scale everything back. And I think a big moment for us was when we realised how much sleep they need, and that's okay. Just that expectation of, because that's probably not going to be a play dog. She's probably not going to be chasing the ball and running around playing. She's probably going to want to sleep.
This is Cosette's favourite thing to do.
That is what Cosette loves doing.
And a lot of them are the same. A lot of the Tramp is, we have dinner of an evening, and and then when dinner time's all finished and Sky's there going, right, come on, let's play, and Tramp's just tickle me. I just want to lay here and be tickled all night. I don't want to do anything else. I've even tried taking him out, for a walk summer in the evenings. He's like, I don't really want to go.
Just love sleeping.
Well, the plants used to be hilarious, didn't they?
The Romy plants.
The Romy plants.
I mean, the fact that she didn't want to go, and I think sometimes it was about possibly I can smell something that's gone before, like another dog, and I don't want to go down there, or I don't know, sometimes she just didn't want to go.
But what was so helpful was just realising through you and the community in the group, it's not just Cosette, it's a thing. We laugh about it now.
Have you seen the pictures I've put in the group this morning?
I've seen it, but I haven't properly read it yet.
Yeah, no, that's just a thing that started in the last 4 or 5 days.
Oh, this is of Tramp. Yeah, I did see him lying in the
I'm 6 years down the line with him, and he's a fairly leveled out boy, to be fair. I don't have any real major issues with him, but the last 5 or 6 days, exactly the same spot. And I'm actually going to kind of go and have an investigate, because it is exactly the same spot. And he just lays down in the middle of the lane. It's like, okay. But they are they're very communicative. Do you know what I mean? And they're very specific about what they're telling us, if you like. And it is one,
and we just laugh now about those things.
But when you understand it's something that can become quite frustrating. And the problem with that is when people start to get frustrated because these dogs won't move, that creates a really nasty energy that they will go, I don't know why you're feeling like that, but I don't want to move even more now because you're getting all angry and frustrated about it. And it can kind of perpetuate the whole problem. But when you understand where it could be coming from and then obviously how to handle it, it can, like you say, he's just laid in the lane this morning and I'm just stood there laughing at him. What are you doing?
It is funny. And we've I suppose over time we kind of say to each other now, whose walk is this? We're not walking for us. If we want to go and exercise, we'll go to the gym or whatever.
Yeah.
The walk is for them. So if
Yeah.
they just want to mooch around and have a sniff and then come home, that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that picture of her. She's so peaceful.
I guess the other thing is it manages the expectation, doesn't it? Because I used to feel that we'd done something wrong if say we used her cage as a safe spot, or the living room. We have like a child gate on the living room, so that's her, we can put her in there and that's her space.
Yep.
I used to feel, what are we doing wrong here? Or, you know, it's a failure, if you like, that she needs that downtime. Well, actually, it's great for everybody.
Absolutely.
And the downtime is her little bit of peace. Yeah. And then she's really good now in the with some of those things we do.
Yeah.
I think she understands it as well. But the mats, they were a godsend. They were absolutely.
Yeah, so this is during our training, isn't it?
Yes, I remember this well, and the videos that go with it were just fantastic.
But, so that was a light bulb moment for me that actually this is working.
Yeah.
You know, it's for a dog that really found it difficult to relax, to take to the mats and get eventually into that position where she was just.
Yeah.
I think we realised that she was trainable.
Mm.
Yeah.
As well, and
loved it as well, didn't she? She absolutely
did.
loved it. You can see in the videos she loves the one-on-one interaction with you. She loves the learning, because a lot of these dogs, well, not a lot of them, all of them, they are super smart. They are life smart. They are street smart, as opposed to almost like the intelligence of some of the more intelligent British dogs. These guys literally have that real street smarts about them, and they love to learn. They pick up really, really quickly on, you know, not just training stuff, but environmental stuff. And yeah, it was very clear that she absolutely loved the training.
Yeah, and that was the preliminary step, wasn't it, to actually doing some visitor, because that was our main difficulty that we came to you with.
Yeah, I was going to
say,
obviously we had the whole issue at the beginning when we lost her for a little while, but yeah, just tell us a little bit about kind of any ongoing problems that you've had with her, or that you're still working on, if you like.
So I think our initial difficulty that we really put the flag up and said we need some serious help was the reactivity. What we now know is reactivity to visitors. We sort of said, well, she's biting people. But actually, once we got chatting to you, we realised that you said, well, it's very rarely one thing. She's probably going to be reactive on walks, and there's be a whole load of other stuff. So it's the tip of the iceberg. That was why we came to you, probably wanting a quick fix with reactivity to visitors, but you know, everything else that came with it. And the initial kind of work that we did was understanding, education. We did all the modules, didn't we? We were very diligent, sat you down, very diligent, did the modules, and we had the one-to-ones. Yeah. Just getting to know her, attachment, really, trust, relaxation, and then building on that to the more specific work that we did. Yeah. And this was all during lockdown, so I think we did feel quite blessed actually at the time that we were doing this work during lockdown when there was no one coming, and we actually had time. Yeah, as well to devote. Yeah, we had
a nice helper in Hannah, didn't we, who came and helped
your neighbour.
Introduced Hannah, and she's less reactive to Hannah now. So if we go across the road to Hannah's got horses and she's out and about on the lane a lot. She does not react to Hannah at all, really. No. Hannah knows how to wait for her reaction.
Yeah.
And that was part of the work.
So we were lucky to have a helper.
Yeah.
Of course.
Would take instructions from us.
And my sister helped as well. Sometimes she'd sit in the garden, I'll introduce Cosette on the lead. But I guess the one thing is, so even though I wouldn't say we're there's lots of work to be done around continue to introduce others in a graduated and a safe way. It still helped us with how we react to visitors. How we react to visitors. So
how you handle the situation,
so our friends know to text to say they're popping round. So for example, last night Debbie popped round, so we Cosette then gets a treat, moves into the.
We try and plan visitors now as much as possible, and I think our friends and families know that now to give us a warning.
Yeah.
And the good thing is that she maybe an initial woof, that's it, and then she really goes and relaxes and is in her safe space.
She's been in a few times, hasn't she? Recently, she's been in and she's met people, and I think she even met a workman at one point, didn't she?
She did. I mean, she's not off the lead with them, and we're not at the point that we would let her off the lead really.
No,
with anybody.
Compared to, you know, previously or before, you know, before we started working together, there was kind of no period of calm. It was just this constant.
She would be very, 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 very barky, upset, which would obviously upset us, and then
of course
we'd be stressed. And if you remember, we actually bought the kennel.
Yes.
We bought a kennel outside, which I do think de-stressed us, actually, that we had a space outside of the house. We were lucky enough to have the space for that, and she took to that really well. We don't actually use it that much now, but she's quite happy to trot down there. You know, if we're going to have a lot of people into the house, we'll put her in the little kennel, and
but again, she doesn't bark because again she would have barked previously and barked consistently, hearing people in the garden, particularly this time of year, barbecues and so. Because now she trots down and she's really calm.
Yeah, and you did work, you know, we worked through a process with the kennel, didn't we, where we acclimatized her to it, so that she was really happy to go in there, and it was a really positive place. And she didn't only go in there when people were coming. It was just something, it's part of life. Sometimes I go in here and I really quite like it because I get some peace and quiet from Heidi, and I get something super tasty.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that sort of stigma or that negative association of, or, you know, being in the kennel, we've just had to deal with that and get over it, really, because she is happier when we use it.
She's happier.
We put our, you know, our thoughts into it when, you know, management is a big part of a winning process, if you like, and we think of it as being, oh, but I don't want my dog put in there. But you know, if we can just take that out of our minds and step into, you know, the dog's point of view, they kind of like being put out the way, because they struggle to cope with these situations. So you know, it's actually, you know, what makes this dog happy, what, you know, what do they prefer, what would they prefer to do? But obviously she is progressing. She has been meeting a few people now, coming out and being relaxed around them as well, which I think is a wonderful progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're much more on the same page about how to manage things.
Yeah, sure.
When we go out for walks, we you know, take your advice, because she can be reactive on walks. But we kind of try and prevent all of that by having the same routine when we know something is approaching us or coming, cyclist, jogger, another dog.
Car. God, she has this thing about wanting to put herself in front of the
we had
car.
a period where she wants to chase after cars, but actually she's much better at that now.
Terriers and moving object thing.
So we've used the it's okay, let's go, over,
obviously treat, reward.
I mean, to be fair, at the end of the day, you know, dogs are gonna bark at stuff. Even, you know, Sky, like I say, she's almost pretty much a perfect dog, but she will still bark at certain things. She will still react. At the end of the day, we all react to stuff. We just react in different ways. You know, a reaction is on a scale, if you like. So dogs are going to bark at stuff. It's not always necessarily a really, you know, bad thing. But the fact that for her, a lot of it is just now a normal level of, I'm a dog and I bark at this thing. And also the fact that she's just not so anxious about life. She's a lot more relaxed. She's developed a lot more resilience around the things that happen in her life now, hasn't she?
She's much better at self-regulating, I think.
Yes, definitely.
But we can tell when she's struggling with that.
She needed a little bit of support to get there, and she needed you to help her learn how to self-regulate.
But we can see now when she's struggling with that. Because we can her body language, her shakes, she's trying to shake it all out. And so we can help her with that.
Yes, definitely. And I think that, you know, that's an important part of the learning process for you, in terms of you knowing exactly how to support her, so that she's not always having to go into an extreme place. She'll be like, oh right, okay. And, you know, let's say she then learns to kind of do that self-regulation herself, which helps her to build resilience. It's all like a build on process that continually moves her forward into, you know, being able to truly relax and enjoy the life that she has now with you guys and everything that kind of entails. But it's important to work through each part of that process to get to that point, because when you miss bits, then you just you're not in the you can't support her in the way that she needs, therefore you end up with the extreme reactions, and then you're reacting to her reactions, and it's this whole then downward spiral. Whereas keeping that upward spiral going on, it keeps you calm and relaxed and stress free, if you like, and obviously also for her.
In fact, this picture here, that position she's in there is a very regular position for her, whether
when there's food.
When there's food. When there's food.
But even you know, if you say down, she'll go and she'll stay.
Yeah.
She's far calmer than she used to be.
And she's a super little trick dog, isn't she?
Yeah. She is.
A lot of the Romanian dogs love their tricks.
Yeah, so you helped us to establish a few tricks. So she, touch is a favorite.
Interaction with us, isn't it?
Yeah. She can spin. She can touch.
She goes down.
She can go down and stay for a few seconds. I mean, Mish, don't get me wrong, there's loads more to do. And we know that, don't we? That we actually think she could progress a lot more, but that's down to us. It was time, but also down to us to keep that going. And it really, and you said to me, you know, this might not be it. She actually might be more capable of progressing.
I think she definitely is.
More.
Yeah. It's definitely always worth asking the questions, because you've said yourself there's been lots of situations that she surprised you. You think, you know, it's not productive for us to assume, but it's important that we always set the situation up right in the first place, and then if it goes well, it's a happy bonus. Do you know what I mean? So, and that can be the case with a lot of these dogs, but in terms of, if we assume it's not going to go well, then we're almost setting ourselves up to fail. And I know there's been lots of situations with my own boy as well, where he has coped and handled, you know, a situation far better than I imagined he would. But then again, that's because I always set him up right in the first place. But when we don't understand how to set them up right, then it goes wrong, and then we're kind of having to backpedal to undo maybe a little bit of negative association or stuff like that. So I think there's always a lot of value in don't assume that they can't do something or they won't be able to do something. It's always good to look at expanding the world, but do it in the right way. And also the relationship and the bond is a really important part of that. Before you go into this, well, can you do this, or would you like to do this, and how do you feel about us doing this? Because if the relationship isn't there, the bond, the trust, then you haven't got that nice little kind of layer of safety that underlines everything.
Yeah, I mean, we're 2 years in now, so exactly, I guess that's a key message, isn't it? That this took time, and that time was for her to trust us, and she does now. She does look up, and when I say it's okay, she genuinely looks up and it's like, oh, okay, it's okay.
It's okay.
yeah.
Definitely.
And so I think we're at a point now where we're managing life with the two of them, with all of us in it, really well.
Yeah.
But we can go further, but we need to invest in that and help her with that and train her with that, you know.
Absolutely.
And that's when Cosette and I connected.
Yeah,
we were working.
I love this picture so much.
Looks like Dobby there, doesn't she?
Doesn't it? Yeah.
Her ears drooping.
Love this picture.
It was hard actually to attach to her.
They are a lot, you know, the majority of them that I know for sure, they're very independent, and I actually see myself in them a lot. They take a long time to develop that trust. So I can kind of relate to that. Do you know what I mean? They don't trust easily. It's like, you know, I'm not going to trust you without you kind of proving that I can. And unfortunately, when we don't understand these dogs and how they are, we often break that trust on a kind of repeated basis. So, you know, until we can learn to develop that, then it does take longer to bond with them. Definitely.
Yeah.
But once you do,
Matt and I bonding, we bonded. Yeah, I love that picture.
Once you're in, you're in. Do you know? Like you're in the circle. Definitely.
Yeah.
So let me ask you. I know the answer to this already, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you have any regrets around adopting a foreign rescue dog?
Not having the information at the beginning, but no.
I mean, I know that, you know, you wouldn't part with her for the world.
What did you say the other day?
So if you could turn back the clock, knowing obviously what you know now, is you know, what would you say? Is there anything you would have done differently, or any advice that you would like to kind of say to anyone watching who is maybe thinking of adopting a foreign rescue dog, or kind of in the process maybe of adopting?
Yeah, I think the rewards are so big when you get there, but our big mistake was
Definitely
going into it blind, not having the right information.
Yeah.
We took on Cosette because she was cute, and we thought it was the right thing to do.
And a good thing to do.
A good thing to do, because it was, you know, it was a rescue. We sponsored a little bit. We knew one of the main, you know, organisers within the rescue.
Yeah.
So I think we did it ill-informed. So the biggest thing we would do now is to recommend to anyone is to read the information.
Yeah.
Get in touch with people to help, because they're not. It won't be an easy ride.
No,
it's different.
To be fair, there are some, you know, there are some Romanian dogs, I know of them, and I know other people know of them that do come over and almost transition without any real major issues.
Yeah, absolutely get that.
You know, it's less common, let's put it that way.
I suppose the proportion of people that do encounter difficulties is probably higher, isn't it? And I think it is that education from the get-go before, if you can, so that you make more of an informed decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
But because of those challenges, I think the rewards are huge.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We couldn't imagine life. It's a really difficult decision. Would we, knowing now, would we still?
Knowing what we know now, don't know.
But we can't imagine life without her.
No.
And I think you adore her.
The thing is as well, though, what it's important to remember is any dog, British or otherwise, British, foreign or otherwise, you know, people think, well, I'll get a puppy because that'll be easier. I can make that puppy into, you know, what I want it to be. And whether it's a British puppy or a foreign puppy, it's not necessarily the case, because, you know, all of us, you know, dogs, us, there is a certain amount of stuff that we come with that kind of can't be changed. So it is very much a balance between, you know, nature and nurture. And, you know, with the best will in the world, sometimes we can't train something either into or out of a dog that just doesn't have that within them. So I think that's important to remember, you know, with all dogs. It is it's valuable to, or it's not valuable, it's essential really to accept the dog that you have and work with them in the way.
Managing expectations, isn't it? I think quite early on we realized that there's not going to be this romantic, you know, long days with walks, pub at the end of it, taking two doggies. I mean, Heidi is a pain, and because we've, you know, made mistakes with Heidi along the way. So you're absolutely right. It's all dogs as well, isn't it? And actually managing our own expectations. Yeah.
But the bond that grows between you and any dog is there.
Definitely.
So, so we think we manage things possibly in a very planned and thought out way now. The bond's still there, that sort of.
And I think for me as well, having, you know, obviously worked with you guys, and you've been in my group for a long time, I think for me as well, watching the transition from all of you, Cosette and Heidi included, being quite stressed and obviously tense and confused and just, you know, this kind of chaotic place, watching you guys develop that relationship and the bond and the fun that you had together in doing all of that has been like really, really wonderful from my point of view. To see that transition through and to watch you guys now with like I say, the fun that you have together.
Well, so I think we've moved, particularly with the group and the community, the groups that you do, I think we've moved from, why is this happening? This is really stressful. I'm the only person in the world that this is happening to actually just laughing and hearing other people's. And actually, I quite often come off the calls and I say to Alex, at least we didn't have that problem. At least our dog's eating, or, you know, whatever, you know. So it is very helpful to hear other people's.
And that is something as well that people will often say to me, you know, especially like people that, like you say, who I might be working with one-to-one, but they join our group calls in the group as well, in the coaching group as well. And they'll say to me, you know, away from the group, it's like, do you know what, I know that I'm you know, working through some stuff now, but I feel really grateful that I haven't got all that going on. So now I just feel quite lucky.
Well, we only had the biting to cope with. The rest of it was off the scale. Yeah, that was super helpful. It is super helpful hearing other people's progress as well as.
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of value with these dogs, especially like Alex said before, you know, when things start to drop into place, those wins are just so huge. It's like, yes. And it's, you do appreciate it so much more. It's the same with anything, isn't it? You appreciate it when you've had to work a bit harder for it as such.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, those wins are just like the best thing. And again, having that to share with a community of people who know how big a deal that is, I think there's a lot of value in that as well. When we know, you know, you could say that to someone who has, you know, a less challenging dog, should we say, and they'll be like, well, yeah, that's cool, but I'm not really sure why you're getting so excited about it. But everyone, you know, within our community is like, oh my god, yes, that's amazing.
And I just think, Mish, there is still a stigma out there. So along the way, we have had a lot of people kind of, you know, why Romanian, and you know, you brought this on yourself, sort of thing. And there is definitely a bit of stigma out there, and I think we've had to just manage that ourselves.
Absolutely.
Well,
and the group has been helpful with that.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. What a wonderful story, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Look at that little face. She's so adorable.
So please, can I have some chicken? I'm checking in with you. I'm looking at you. I'm trusting you. Now give me a little piece of chicken.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys, for coming along and for sharing your story and Cosette's story with us. It's been, as always, absolutely wonderful to chat with you. And I look forward to, you know, some more Cosette video, the Cosette and Heidi show, because I seem to feel like I haven't had any recently. So yeah. we need some updated. Let's do some new tricks or something. And
okay, we'll progress.
But yeah.
Thank you so much. It's actually been really nice talking about the journey.
Yes. Yeah, I think it helps as well. And this is something I say to, you know, again, to people in the group, people I work with, that it's really important with these dogs, especially if you have got a lot of challenges going on, to almost set a time, a monthly time, a weekly time, where you just sit and you go, this is where I was and this is where I am. Because, you know, when you're working through the process, it's the same with anything. You can't always see how much progress you've made. But then when you sit and you think back and say, yeah, well, she does this now, or she doesn't do this anymore. And it's really important to reflect on, you know, where you were and where you are.
Absolutely. I mean, even just today, the peace and quiet during the whole of the podcast.
I remember our early session when it was just barking. Barking.
Definitely.
Bless her. She's a very lucky girl to have found you. And I, of course, very much look forward to watching her continue to blossom.
Well, thank you very much for helping us along the way.
My pleasure.
It's valuable.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, great. Thanks a lot, guys. I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Okay.
Thanks, Mish. Ta-ra.
Bye. Bye.